After the market has had such an incredible run, the big question on everyone's mind is, what's the next move? Today, we're going to look at what some of Wall Street's top minds are thinking as they set their sights on 2026.
So let's get right into it. The market has just been on a wild ride, and that's got investors everywhere wondering, okay, where's the next big opportunity? The real trick isn't just about picking a stock, it's about understanding the story behind it. And if you want some perspective on just how wild that ride has been, get a load of this number. Over just 3 years, the S&P 500's total return was a massive 86.11%. Wow. And a run like that, well, it naturally leads to one big question. That's it right there. What is next? After gains like that, where do the pros see the puck going? In this explainer, we're going to break down 5 very different answers to that very question, coming from 5 different money managers. Okay, but before we jump into the juicy stuff, we got to get something really important out of the way. This disclaimer comes directly from the source material. These are the ideas of professional analysts, and we're looking at them for educational purposes. This is all about understanding their thinking, their strategy. It's not advice. So please always do your own homework. All right, with that covered, let's get to the first big idea. And no surprise here, it all starts with the market's undisputed heavyweight champion of the AI boom, NVIDIA. So who's in this corner? That would be Dan Ives over at Wedbush Securities. He's a pretty big name in the tech world, and his take here is, well, it's about as clear and bullish as it gets. And this quote right here, it just perfectly sums up his whole take on it. For Ives, NVIDIA isn't just another company in the AI space. Nope, he sees it as the company, the one singular force that the entire AI revolution is built on. But here's the kicker, and this is what's really fascinating about his take. Ives actually thinks the market, for all its excitement, is still underestimating this company. He's forecasting earnings growth of at least 15 to 20% all the way through 2026. For him, the NVIDIA story is far from over. Okay, so that's the bull case for the king, but, not everyone wants to bet it all on one horse, right? So let's look at some of the challengers, some different strategies. If NVIDIA is the obvious plan A, what other ways are there to play this whole AI trend? Our first alternative comes from Nancy Tangler, and she's looking at a totally different kind of company, Palantir. This is not about consumer tech. This is a deep dive bet on a super specialized company that works hand in hand with defense and government agencies. It's a completely different angle. And check out this comparison she makes, because it's a bold one. She thinks Palantir's journey could end up looking a lot like Amazon's did in its early days, right after it went public. It's this idea of a powerful story that could keep the momentum going for years, even if the price tag looks a little high today. All right, our next strategy is all about finding that hidden gem. Max Wasserman's pick is Broadcom. It's another company that makes chips, sure, but he sees it as an under-the-radar play that isn't getting as much hype because it serves more specialized markets. So what first put this company on his firm's radar? It was this number right here. Back during the COVID downturn, Broadcom was paying a dividend yield of over 3%. For them, that was a huge signal, a sign of a stable, profitable business that the market was overlooking in a panic. What started as a hunt for value and income turned into a massive growth story. All this talk about betting on one or two big hardware names, it really begs the question, even if you love the company, is it really a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket in an industry that changes this fast? And that very question, it leads us perfectly into our next strategy from Adam Coons. He's all about diversification. His idea isn't to pick an AI winner or loser. Instead, it's to pair the big chip makers with a giant like Alphabet, where AI isn't the whole business, but it's like rocket fuel for their already massive businesses. And this right here, this breaks it down perfectly. It's a whole different mindset. For a company like NVIDIA, AI is the business, plain and simple. But for a giant like Alphabet, AI enhances the business, making things like search and cloud even better, even more profitable. It's about spreading out the risk. All right, for our last one, we're taking a walk on the wild side. Eric Jackson is betting on a turnaround story. This one is definitely high risk, but maybe high reward. He thinks AI could totally transform the neighborhood app Nextdoor. So what's the secret weapon they've been sitting on? It's this massive number, 100 million verified users. That is a goldmine of local, neighborhood-level data. The problem was, for years, the company just couldn't quite figure out how to make a real money from it. But Jackson's whole argument is that AI completely flips the script here. Suddenly, the platform can get really smart. It can see when you're searching for, say, a plumber, and then instantly connect you with local plumbers who want your business. That creates a whole new way to make money that just wasn't possible before.
So, as we bring this all together, what's the big takeaway here? The point wasn't to try and convince you that one of these stocks is the one. It was to show you the different stories, the different strategies, the why behind each professional's pick. And let's just quickly run through them again, right? You've got the dominant leader in NVIDIA, the defense and data specialist Palantir, the underappreciated player Broadcom, the big diversified giant Alphabet, and finally, the AI turnaround play Nextdoor. 5 completely different ways of looking at the exact same trend. And honestly, this is probably the most important thing to remember from all of this. There is no single right answer in investing. You can have really smart people look at the exact same world, the same AI trend, and come up with 5 totally different, logical ways to approach it. So I'll leave you with this final thought. As you look out toward 2026 and think about this AI revolution, remember it's not just about picking a ticker symbol. It's about finding a story, a vision of the future that you believe in. So the question is, which of these stories makes the most sense to you?